Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and double honors due to Yahweh Bahashem Hamashach Omalak Yahushai. Second, this brother Yardan. W5 Detroit comes back at you with yet another cold cut. Right, you already know what it is. Right, we're gonna bring out some precepts, some accounts, some resources, some videos through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai that Israel may get edified. Right, all so they know what it means to be wise as a serpent, because that's what the title of this video is. Therefore, that's what we're going to be going into. All right. So again, what does it mean to be wise as a serpent? Because this is what Yahushua said. Right. That's Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Let's dive right into it. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. What does the Lord mean by that? Does he actually mean study a serpent, right? To the point where you can kind of crawl on your belly and kind of do weird tricks with your tongue? Oh, he doesn't mean it in that sense, right? Let's bring out another precept to get some understanding. As the scriptures say, precept must go upon precept, right? Line upon line, here a little and there a little. So this is Job chapter 12, verse 7. And it reads, but ask now the beast, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee, right? In other words, when you acknowledge and observe nature, even the beasts, and how they move and operate throughout this earth, you take note, right? Not only that, you apply those certain attributes to your life, right? So when Yahushua said, be wise as a serpent, right? He meant you have to be subtle as a serpent, because the nature and characteristics of a serpent is to be sneaky, right? Now that can be applied to the left-hand side and or the right, but of course, through context, it's being applied to the right-hand side, because you don't want to be sneaky in a sense of defrauding your brothers and trying to sin and think you can get away with it. You want to be sneaky in a right-hand side, right? If you don't know what that means, that's okay. We got precepts, accounts, videos, and then some, so Israel may understand and that the picture is painted. All right, so again, but ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Even the birds, you observe the birds and the doves, you understand that certain doves, or certain birds, such as a dove, is gentle, is kind, is not brutish in its natural state. Then you look at a ostrich. Yeah, ostrich is a fool. You read about that in Job, I believe the 39th chapter. All right. So there's a lot that you can learn from these birds and even animals and beasts, really. So understand when Yahushua says something is not, for the heck of it. He's saying it for a reason. So let's bring out Psalms chapter 78, verse 2. This is what you call a dark parable, a dark saying. What's our verse 1? Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. As I mentioned before, I'm going to bring out accounts, because our forefathers knew what it meant to be. It's like it knew what it meant to be, in regards to moving in subtlety, right? They knew what it meant to be in regards to being wise as a serpent, if you understand what I'm saying. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praise of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. All right, that's plain. All right, so again, this is dark parable, really. Now, it's a reason why he didn't make it known, really, multiple reasons. But one of them is, hey, he's speaking to Israel. All right, that's the main audience. He didn't want the heathen to know this information. Heathen are already wicked. He's telling us this for our sakes, right? So we can thrive and still live. Because who's the sheep in this context? It's like who's the wolves in this context? That's the heathen. The heathen are the wolves. And who are we? The sheep, right? Sheep are known as being meek, docile, humble. It'll follow you wherever, all right? So understand, a lot of what Yahushua is saying is deep and parabolic. Don't think he was just winging it off the top of his head and he was freestyling, you know? So you gotta get the understanding thereof. Because if you don't, now you're leaning upon your own understanding. And I guarantee you the Catholic Church, Christian Church, whatever denomination, perhaps it may be Islam, they don't break down the precepts and the scriptures to allow you to understand what it's really going into. That's why a lot of our people are so busy believing or so indoctrinated, I would say, thinking that it's fictitious, fairy tales. Why is it a serpent? What do you mean? That makes no sense. Well, brother, you haven't been taught the truth. That's why it's going to sound crazy to you. But believe it or not, we speak in parable and hip talk damn near every day. And I'm going to get a precept of Israel speaking in hip talk. This is another one with Yahushua. You use it more often than you think. 11 and 12. I'll start verse 11. These things said he, and after that he said unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Then say his disciples, O Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit, Yahushua spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest and sleep. You see that? That's plain as day. Another example in modern day terms is, hey, brother, I ain't see you in a minute. It hasn't actually been 60 seconds. Or they'll say, man, work like Hebrew slave. Brother, nobody's whipping your back, right? So there's a lot of hip talk that we use even in our communities to this very day. And why is that? Because there's nothing new under the sun. We're known for doing that. So again, you have to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. And you have to understand what that means to the fullest extent. So let's bring out a few more precepts. Well, let's bring out the accounts rather. We're going to dive right into it. This 1 Samuel chapter 27. As I said earlier, our forefathers, they already knew what it meant. They knew what this meant, to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. All right? Before Yahushua said it, they knew it through the Spirit. So this is 1 Samuel 27 and 1. Where should we start? Oh, this is almighty. We'll get right here. We'll start at verse 1 and jump down. And David said in his heart, I shall not perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines. And Saul shall despair of me to seek me any more in any coast of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand. So David is in a sticky situation. All right. David is in a very sticky situation and he's being wise as a serpent. He said, hey, I got to flee. Because like it says in Sirach 9 and 13, get thee far from a man that hath power to kill thee. And Saul surely has the power to kill thee, or kill him. And if you read the accounts and read the precepts, and you'll find out he surely tried. He surely tried. And David arose, and as he passed over with 600 men that were with him, unto Achish, the son of Maachah, king of Gath, and David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his two wives, and Ahim and Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife. And it was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. So he said, all right, he's fled. All right, as long as he's out of my sight, right? But let's keep reading. And David said unto Achish, if I now found grace in thine eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country that I may dwell there. For why should thy servant dwell in the royal city with thee? Right, so he did so. Let's jump down. In the time of David, it's like in the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was 4 years and 4 months. And David and his men went up to invade the Geshurites, and the Gezerites, and the Amalekites. All right. And those nations were of old of the inhabitants of the land, as thou goest to Shur, even to the land of Egypt. And David smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep and the oxen and the ass, and the camels and the apparel, and returned and came to Achish. Right? So he went on a recon mission, just slaying everybody. All right. And Achish said, "Whether have ye made road today?" You're like, where the hell you go? And and David said, "Against the south of Judah and against the south of the uh, uh, Jeremites and against the south of the Kenites." And David saved neither man nor woman alive to bring tidings to Gath, lest they should tell on us, saying, "So did David, and so will be his manner all the while he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines." And Akash believed David. So David finessed through the spirit. Because if Akash heard this, he was like, oh, what you doing? I probably had links with these people. Why would you kill them? And so, hey, David finessed through the spirit, man. He's using wisdom. He's being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, saying he had made his people Israel utterly to abhor him. So, like, let me read that again. And Achish believed David, saying he had made his people Israel utterly to abhor him. Therefore, he shall be my servant forever. And it's like, really, David pretty much said, I went against Israel, really, for real. And Akash is like, all right, cool. So, he's using wisdom on both parts. He said he killed these Amalekites, but he also went against Judah too. You know. So, hey man, that's mighty. Or it's like it chiefly, he really said the Judites, which is Israel. He said that before anything else. You know. It's like he's slaying the heathen, the Egyptians, the Gezerites. It's like the Geshurites, the Amalekites, and Gezerites. But he told Achish that I went against the south of Judah. I went against Israel, my own people. And Achish believed him. So, you got to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. You have to use guile. Let's go into that word. Guile, sly, cunning, crafty, bruises, deception, sharp practice. Right? You have to be masterful in your sharp practices. Right? Not in wickedness, not on the left hand side, but rather on the right hand side. All right, so that's a mighty account. Here's one more, or a few more actually, just so we can understand the full picture. All right, and think, oh no, that's wicked. I shouldn't do that. I can't lie to the heathen. I can't. Look at David. Again, you have to consider what the Lord said in First Kings. I mean, David was perfect in the eyes of the Lord, except that adultery. So this is Acts 22. Acts 22 and where is that? 27. This is Paul in the so-called New Testament using deception, sharp practices. I'll start at verse 26. I'll start at 25. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, "Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned?" Why did Paul refer to himself as a Roman when he said in Philippians 3 and 5, "I'm a Hebrew," right? Of the stock of Benjamin. He said, "Are they Israel? So am I." So why in the hell is he saying, "Y'all scourge a man that is a Roman"? Because Paul understood the laws of the land, and he understood the citizenship and what it meant to be a Roman, and how being a Roman you will have certain leverage as opposed to being an outcast or a non-citizen of Rome. So he's using wisdom as well. He knew the laws of the land. All right, and with that, we can take that and apply it to ourselves to understand certain laws of the land. Not to say we got to study Esau's book and go to Stanford and Harvard. It doesn't mean that. There's nothing wrong with learning certain things to benefit your life, or really benefit you for the ministry, right? To extol the ministry. When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, "Take heed that what thou doest, for this man is a Roman." Then the chief captain came and said unto him, "Tell me, art thou a Roman?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I'm a Roman." So it might be a certain situation that may befall you. You can say Israel, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's mighty, you should. But it might benefit you to say, I'm a so called American. You know, Paul said he's a Roman. Rome was wicked as hell. They taxed the hell out of us. They already lied on us. They hated us. But he said, "I'm a Roman." So this is an account of being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. He could have threw up the curses on him. He could have did anything. He could have pulled out a dagger and kind of slit his throat. But he used words. So let's bring out 2 Corinthians 12 and 6. Paul calls some people with guile. 2 Corinthians 12 and 6. For though I would desire to glory, I should not be a fool, for I would say the truth, but now I forbear thee. It might not be it. It might be 1 Corinthians. Uh, let's see. 2 Corinthians 12 and 16. Man, it's lucky. 2 Corinthians 12 and 16. Typo. But be it so, I did not burden you. Nevertheless, being crafty, I call you with guile. Now, if you want to know the whole account, you can read it. But just understand that Paul said, "I caught you with guile." Sometimes you may have to catch people in guile. Well, the heathen, people you work with. You got to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. You have to really understand what this means because there's so many accounts, you know? So we wind it down. We wind it down. If you didn't know, you know, even today, animals kind of symbolize something, and they always did. All right, animals really always symbolize something from the beginning. It's a reason why, not to get too deep, but it's a reason why the Lord referred to man in Genesis as a serpent because he's crafty. All right, he's wise on the left hand side, and doves generally always represent peace, love, devotion, and even hope. Because I was going to get in the count, but I don't want to get too deep. But understand, does represent hope. In fact, what happened? What is that? Let me bring that out. Let me see if this is what I want. Bear with me. No, I won't get it. It's not like a dove. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Luke 3:22. I got one more account. I want to wind down. And the Holy Ghost descended in a bodily shape like a dove upon him, and a voice came from heaven, which said, "Thou art my beloved Son, in thee I am well pleased." But notice out of any bird, he could have said a dove, he could have said an eagle, an ostrich, a bat. The Lord could have said a flying squirrel, you know. But he said a dove. That's deep, because doves represent something. Everything represents something, you know. So dove meaning and symbolism include peace, love, devotion, application, message, grace, right, and hope. So that's deep. Let's bring out this last account so I can. We'll get one more, two more. We want to get Jeremiah 38. Uh, we got to get Genesis as well. Let's get Genesis 20 real quick. So many accounts of our forefathers being wise. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south of the country and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said unto Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But let's keep reading. But God came upon, it's like it came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said unto him, behold, thou art a dead man for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. Right? But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he unto me, she is my sister. She, even she herself, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, yea, I know that thou didst this thing in integrity of thine heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore I suffered I thee not to touch her. Right? But the point is, I mean, Abraham called her his sister. That's not really his sister, if you understand what I'm saying. It's not his blood sister, right? His familial blood sister. He said that, for wisdom's sake, you know, because if he would have said, well, this is my husband or this is my wife, they would have just killed him probably and took her. But he used the element of surprise because they have no idea who her husband could have been. Within that crafty guy he caught them in, his husband could have been a king or whoever. But in his wickedness, King Abimelech still took her. And even it says down here, and Abraham said, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. Yet indeed she is my sister, she is the daughter of my father. See, using wisdom. But not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house thence, I said unto her, this is thy kindness, which thou shalt shew unto me at every place whither we shall come. Say of me, he is my brother. And that's true, that's facts. If I have my wife, and that's my sister. But you got to be wise and you got to understand on a spiritual level, of how deep that is. You can't be offended in that. It is what it is. I'll bring out two more. This is Jeremiah 38 and 27. I'm going to get straight to the point. Then came all the princes unto Jeremiah and asked him, and he told them according to all the words that the king had commanded. So they left off speaking with him, for this matter was not perceived. All right, let's get some more context. In verse 24 it says, then said Zedekiah to Jeremiah, let no man know of these words, and thou shalt not die. Because he had a conversation, a dialogue. And what did Jeremiah say? He said, we didn't speak about much. We didn't say much. Did Jeremiah lie? And he had to use wisdom to deliver his soul so that the word can still be ministered. You can't use knowledge for evil or for your own personal gain. The knowledge that the Lord bestowed upon us, is to be used righteously.